You probably have not thought about this idea before, and as a child your parents probably never told you that you were hearing, but children born with a pathological hearing loss are reminded every day of what they can't do. These deaf children are being mainstreamed in this hearing-centric world with no support or guidance on their deaf identity. The hearing world focuses on fixing hearing loss when, in reality, 90% of deaf people eventually convert to using sign language. My social revelation is about how and why the deaf community has been so misperceived for so many years. To start, it is important to make the distinction between big and little d deaf. Little d deaf refers solely to the pathological hearing loss present in an individual. Big D deaf encompasses being part of the deaf community, deaf culture, and having a deaf identity. Deaf people do not define themselves by their pathological differences, rather, they define themselves by the aspects that make them who they are. To be part of the deaf community, there are certain attitudes you must value. Deaf people are skeptical to let people in because of the years of bad intentions that people had towards them. The Venn diagram showcases some deaf cultural identifications that play a role in deaf identity. The main components that make up their culture are the language, American Sign Language, their heritage and historical accounts, their art and artists that represent the community, their customs, such as being very expressive, visual, and detailed, and the family history that paved the way for their community. Following are some statistics I found to be very impactful. 90% of deaf children are born to hearing parents, and of those parents, 80% never learn their children's language. And 90% of deaf children are unable to achieve intelligible speech and spent years of intensive therapy. Next, I will share some traits about how deaf individuals perceive themselves. They see themselves as handicapped, not disabled. They are proud of who they are. They don't want pity. They are normal people. They don't need to be fixed. The only difference is their language. They love their culture and everything that the community has built and spent years of being torn down. They are very supportive and feel that every deaf child should learn their language. They live by a very collectivistic view. They value their community and are very involved among members of the community as that is all they have. Although deaf people have many positive ways of describing themselves, they ultimately feel powerless. Why do they feel this way? They have always been spoken for. They have been labeled deaf and dumb along with many other offensive names. Their language has once been banned. They still live in a world controlled by hearing individuals, and they are very misperceived. The deaf community is a minority group, and like many other minorities, they have been oppressed and misperceived. Within the deaf community, there are also smaller minorities that face even more oppression. The social perception by which hearing people see deaf people is very offensive to the deaf community. According to the way in which individuals make perceptions, deaf people should not be viewed how they are. Deaf people have the same faces, make the same facial expressions, have the same routines, the same needs, they are interested in many of the same activities, and the only difference is their language. Individuals who are bilingual in English and Spanish are not looked at as any less of a person, so why are deaf people? They are also bilingual individuals and they learn sign and English. This misperception may better be explained by the fundamental attribution theory, as often people underestimate the impact of situations on behaviors. Hearing people see a deaf person and automatically want to show them pity, but why? Just because they are deaf does not mean they cannot function the same as a hearing person. Hearing people then think that deaf people don't fit in because they are deaf. However, the situational impact is what causes deaf people to shy away and be outsiders from the hearing world. Another theory that may be able to explain this misperception is the implicit personality theory. Hearing people have made false and negative assumptions about deaf people, and they define them in that way. They see being deaf as a negative thing, so they make the relationship, and now they see deaf people as a negative thing. For many years, the deaf community has been referred to with countless offensive labels as they have been fighting to find power in this hearing world. They have been stereotyped that they are dumb because they are deaf. They have faced prejudice and discrimination for being deaf. They have been stigmatized, and they have faced the implicit attitudes of others. All of this constant labeling and discrimination over many years has led deaf people to lose their confidence, their voice, and their power. One prejudice that they faced only 30 years ago was specific to being deaf. That was autism. Autism is the belief that the ability to hear makes one superior to those with hearing loss. Deaf people are perceived as less of a person because they use a different language. However, through all the negative, deaf people stay persistent with their identity and what being deaf means to them, and they have since learned to overcome autism. In conclusion, deaf people have been misperceived for many years and still face it today. These misperceptions have led to very negative stereotypes and discrimination from others. If the deaf community wasn't labeled with such a negative perception, they would be able to thrive as a culture without fear of judgment and barriers put in place by the hearing world. I hope with my social revelation I have taught you a new perception about the deaf culture, and it has opened your mind to how you may view the deaf community.